first became interested in animation the way most people do, just watching it as a kid. But I didn't really think about it as a career path until I was here in COD at the MPTV program and discovered that I had at least a little bit of a proclivity for it and an enjoyment of the process, which is really kind of the difficult part. There's a big leap between enjoying watching animation but really enjoying the tedium and the minutia of creating it. So here is where I really made that leap from personal interest and enjoyment to a professional interest. In terms of stop motion animation, which is the type of animation I do, Nightmare Before Christmas was a real early impactful film. Even when I was in high school, I took a class here when I was about 15, and there was a documentary that they showed in the class that was a behind the scenes of Nightmare. That was my first real kind of inkling as to, oh, these people are actually making these things. And then when I was actually finishing up the animation program here in 2009 is when Coraline came out. And when I saw that in the theater, that was the real motivation for me to say, okay, this is what I'm gonna try to do. People are doing it, and I'm gonna give it a go. So I started attending COD because it was nearby and my dad worked here, which was easier. And immediately I found the program to be super helpful in terms of really your level of interest, your commitment was all that was required. And I was given every opportunity I needed, so you can really self-determine your own curriculum and path here. Everybody from the department head to the lab techs is really excited to help you out along the way. Tony is the most influential mentor and teacher I think I've had, certainly one of them, and his excitement for film, for animation, and for teaching, they're really infectious, and he really has a unique way of making people believe in themselves, is there to support everybody on a path of self-discovery that doesn't have anything to do with teaching the craft of animation. And I think for people getting started, that's the most important thing, more than any technical, artistic knowledge you'll gain from him. His ability to make you think you're not crazy when you're doing something that's crazy. It's really special.
I met Bob, I believe it was in 2007, and I remember it was summer semester. He and his father came to talk to me. His dad used to teach here in graphic design. Bob was very interested in pursuing that, so we talked about it, and then I guess he thought about it and decided to go through to get the degree. But I remember some things during that conversation where I felt like sometimes you just get a sense about somebody that I really felt you were going to be successful. But one of the things I saw really early on is your confidence in your drawing initially was pretty low. It's like, I can't draw. And
still can.
You can too. You can too, because I've seen your work. So you had this very unique, strange, wonderful way of coming up with ideas. It was very refreshing. So you never had there was never, here's my story, A to B. And those are some of the things you need to develop as an animator. You really have to have those kinds of skills. You also understood putting your spirit into your work. Your work reflected that way back when you were here. So Bob would come to school every day at 8 a.m. and he'd leave when the school closed at 10 p.m. and just go to classes, but he'd be in that room animating any other time. And that's all he wanted to do. That was that dedication. I don't know how many hundreds of hours you put into the project. It really shows in the work, but there was that kind of discipline and dedication and love. You can't do that if you're not passionate about something.
The process of stop motion, I think, has to be so much more enjoyable. Like when I finish a day of working in stop motion, I feel physically fatigued because you are contorting, you're on your feet all day, and I still feel like I've kind of done, like a real job at the end of the day. Whereas after a full day, the same amount of time sitting in front of the computer, it's more like I feel like I've been microwaved. To actually physically be immersed into a world. It's not a digital space that exists in a computer that will later be rendered. You are in the world that is going to appear on screen with real art that you can put your hands on, real lighting crafted by professionals. So it's just and then it's all yours. Everybody leaves and you have it all to yourself. You get to make that world come alive. As far as enjoying the process goes, I think it has to be the top. It's really fun. While I was working on TP, I got my first job as an animator, which was doing a small reshoot for a film called Hell and Back that ended up being on Netflix. And they were having a hard time finding crew. So they hired me as a part-time, 2-day-a-week animator, and I did well, so then they put me on full-time. I had done a successful animation test at the studio Bixpix, and they were creating a preschool show called Tumbleleaf. So when Hell and Back wrapped up, I got hired full-time on Tumbleleaf. They were working on their first season. And then that ended up being, I just worked on that show for the next few years. We did 4 seasons. Started doing some work at Stupid Buddy Studios, which is most well known for the show Robot Chicken. I ended up working on Robot Chicken and a few other of their original shows, and did a Netflix Christmas special called Alien Xmas. And yeah, I was just kind of bouncing around those TV studios in LA for 7 years until I was working at Stupid Buddy again, working on Robot Chicken. And that's when I got contacted by some co-workers or colleagues who were working on Pinocchio. So working on Pinocchio was the best job I've ever had. The people were fantastic. From the co-director, Mark, was great to work for, my animation director, Brian. The entire crew was just super sweet, talented, funny people. So every day really was I was trying to be present of what a special time it was, because I don't think a project like that is going to come around too often, where you're working for somebody who's iconic and famous and super talented, but also a pretty down-to-earth guy who really respects the animators. Guillermo really believes in the animators as actors and does not see them as technicians who exist to hammer out some extremely precise idea in his head, but allows us to collaborate and lend our own voice to our own performance. It was the best puppets I've ever worked with, these big feature quality sets, getting mentored by some pretty brilliant animators. After working in TV for long enough, you're always growing, you're always getting better, but that kind of starts to slow a little bit. You kind of start coming into work and just executing, and a little bit of the challenge goes away. And I had been feeling that, so it really came around at a good time where I needed the opportunity to fail, to feel like the stakes were high and I might not be good enough. Like I prefer to feel a little bit out of my depth when I'm at work, because that's what keeps it exciting. And it definitely felt that way every day. Every shot was an opportunity to grow exponentially better. And I felt like I did. I felt like I was a much better animator by the end of the movie than I was when I started. And to have the time and the resources to do that really buttery, nice feature quality animation was really exciting and fulfilling.